Hey everybody, it's Emily at Arg Schooling, and today I'm going to be talking about our 9th grade curriculum plans, and I'm starting with history and science. A few months back, I asked my daughter what she wanted to study for 9th grade, and she decided she wanted to do both levels 8 and 9. So Build Your Library level 8 is history of science, and level 9 is a prehistory, like early human evolution, that sort of thing. So I've been thinking on this for months, like how do I combine these things? So I'm taking pieces from both and sort of mashing this together into a hybrid program for her. So we're focusing on the history of science pretty much all the way through, but we're gonna start with like the evolution of humans and hominids and all of that, and we're gonna go into like a little bit of anthropology and that sort of thing. So it's gonna be mostly that from level 9. I don't think she was really that interested in a lot of the dinosaurs, prehistoric creatures stuffs. So I think she really wanted that aspect of it. Without further ado, let's talk about exactly what I'm doing here. So obviously, if we're doing human evolution and that sort of thing, we're going to be using the Sapiens graphic novels. There's 2 of them. I just grabbed this one to show you. I really like these. They're really readable. They're really interesting, and I think they're going to lead to a lot of really great discussion. They focus on like human evolution and why humans are the way they are, how sapiens came to be, and the second book delves a lot more into like topics more like where do stories come from? Why do we have stories? Like why do we think the way we do? Why do we behave the way we do? How did the agricultural revolution alter humanity? Was it good or bad? That sort of thing. So it's really interesting stuff. I think she's gonna like that. And then, of course, from level 8, we're going to be doing the Story of Science series. There are 3 books in this series. I just grabbed this one to show on the video because I did not feel like picking them all up. But I love these. They're really interesting. I love the way Joy Hakim writes. She just makes the topic so interesting. It makes it come alive. They're very readable. So we're going to be reading these. And it goes from like ancient humans. I think it starts in ancient Greece. And it goes all the way through modern time. And then the history books I have in my stack. Last year we did the American history version of this, and it was really, really well done. So I picked up the world history. This isn't scheduled in level 8. I have a different history spine there, but we might go back and forth between the 2. I can't find it. It's somewhere in my house. This is a really readable, interesting history of the world. What I like about this series is that it starts with a section about like what is history, how do you study it, why does it matter, different perspectives and that sort of thing. And then it ends with a section about how to use primary sources, how to do history like a historian, with some examples. I also like that it asks a lot of questions throughout the text, and it does have space to write in, but we don't write in the books, but it leads to good discussion. Also from level 8, I have The Middle Ages, a Graphic History. This is by Eleanor Janega and Neil Max Emanuel. It's a graphic novel, again, and she loves those. And I think this book is really interesting because there's a lot of misconception about the Middle Ages being this like time where people did basically nothing. Everyone was ignorant, nobody could read, all of that kind of thing. So this does a lot of myth busting. It also does a really good job of expanding the Middle Ages out of just England. A lot of people, when you think Middle Ages, you're probably thinking about England. And this book gives a lot of information. It focuses on Europe for the most part, but it does give a lot more information about other parts of Europe and why there was so much going on in other countries in Europe besides Great Britain. So like it's a really good look at the Middle Ages and everything that was happening Really fascinating stuff. And then, I don't know how much we're going to use this, but I've had it on my shelves for ages. My daughter really likes morbid, weird things, so I pulled this out and stuck it in our pile. This is called How They Croaked: The Awful End of the Awfully Famous, and it literally is just about how famous people died. So like, it goes through history, so we have like King Tut, Julius Caesar, Cleopatra, Napoleon. So since we're doing a sort of crash course world history, I thought this could be fun to pull out and like read a story for each time period. I don't know, we'll see. Then I have, let's see, oh, I have Radium Girls for Young Readers in my stack. I just found this not that long ago. I didn't know there was a Young Readers edition, so I immediately bought it, and then I thought it might fit well when we study about radium and Marie Curie. This might be fun for us to, I don't know if fun's the right word. This might be interesting for us to read together. And this, of course, is a story about a real event in history where a lot of women were poisoned by radium. They were clock painters. They would paint radium on the like watches and clocks and make them glow, which was a very like popular thing back then. I think this is set in the early 1900s. And these women all became really sick with radium poisoning and tried to sue, and it was a whole debacle. But it's really interesting stuff. I have Bomb by Steve Sheinkin. This is the graphic novel. The other one I can't find. I think it's upstairs somewhere. But this is a story about the atomic bomb and how it was built and all the spies that were trying to steal it. It's really, really fascinating. I hope I can find the other full edition, but I do have the graphic novel, which we'll probably read both. I haven't decided yet, but I love this book. It's fascinating. Steve Sheinkin is just masterful at creating these really readable, fascinating histories, and I am excited to get to that again. And then I also have In the Shadow of the Moon. This is by Amy Cherrix. This is also absolutely riveting stuff. This is all about the space race and the Cold War, and it's so interesting. It goes into a lot about Operation Paperclip, which is something that was new to me. I had not known about it before I read this book, and sent me off on a quest to learn more. So excited to get to that. Then in our pile for science. So most of the history came from level 8. We are dabbling a little bit in the history from level 9, but the science that we're going to be doing this year is also a bit of a mix. But I decided we were going to go ahead and do a more like general science year, so we're going to be covering a lot of different things. So I think our main spine though is going to be Bill Bryson's A Short History of Nearly Everything. This book is just really interesting. Again, I will read anything Bill Bryson writes. He makes everything interesting in ways that I would never have expected. This book covers a lot of ground, but it tends to focus more on like astronomy and chemistry and physics. So we're going to be reading through this the whole year. We're going to kick off the year, since we're going to be reading about evolution of humans and that sort of thing. We're going to be reading Evolution, The Story of Life on Earth by Jay Hosler. This is another graphic novel. You're going to see a lot of graphic novels as I'm going through this, because that is Regina's preferred media. She loves graphic novels, and I feel like she gets the most out of books when they are graphic novels. But this book is all about evolution, and it starts with like the Big Bang and goes through all of that. So we will be covering that just briefly at the start of the year. For when we do get to astronomy, I have Star Talk. She doesn't really want to do a lot with astronomy because we did a lot with that last year, and she's kind of like, we've already done it. So we're probably just going to read a little bit. We're not going to read this whole book, but I might pick a few topics just to focus on that we maybe didn't cover last year. So that's what we'll do with that. And then I have, let's see, we're going to be doing a little bit more about human biology, and that just a little bit when we study the stuff of life, a graphic guide to genetics and DNA. Again, I thought this would go really well with our study about early humans and anthropology and that sort of thing. So we're going to be reading yet another graphic novel. This one's by Mark Schultz. Then we're going to do a little bit of geology because we haven't really done much with that. So I have The Practical Geologist by Dougal Dixon, and this is a pretty standard text about geology. I'm pairing that with outdoor school rock, fossil, and shell hunting. I just really like the way these are laid out, and lots of space for writing notes and keeping track of your discoveries if you're going to collect or anything like that. So just really like this series. To go along with our history of science, we have Stolen Science, 13 Untold Stories of Scientists and Inventors, almost written out of history, by Ella Schwartz. This is a little bit young for her, but she likes this kind of thing where we just read a little biography and study one particular person. So I thought this would be a really relevant topic to add to our science studies, and learn about some of these unknown scientists who are just kind of pushed aside for somebody else to steal their discoveries. I have for chemistry, The Cartoon Guide to Chemistry by Larry Gonick, and pretty typical, another graphic novel. We're going to be learning some basic chemistry, and to go with that I also have The Disappearing Spoon by Sam Keane. This is the Young Readers edition, so I don't know if she's going to read this one on her own or if we'll read it together. And then for physics, I have The Manga Guide to Physics. I don't know yet if this might be a little bit too much for her, but it was a manga guide. We already own it. It's been on our shelves for years, so I thought we might as well pull it out and see. I also have the cartoon guide to physics, I think, somewhere. So we might switch to that if this turns out to be a little bit too advanced, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know if we're going to get to this because I feel like I've got a lot going on, but I did want to read How to Change Everything by Naomi Klein. I really love this book. I think it's a really great resource for learning, not just learning about climate change, but learning about how it's fixable and giving kids the idea that like they have power here. We can all work together and do something. So I feel like this is a really great resource for that. So I really hope we can fit this in. But yeah, that is what we're doing for history and science. It's kind of a mashup of a lot of things, but we're going to be focusing on the history of science, the evolution of humans and humanity, and we're going to be doing a lot of like general science type things, just a lot of topics, because she could not decide on one specific. So we're just going to do a little bit of everything. So stay tuned for my next video where I talk a bit about our math and English plans for the school year. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Happy reading. Bye.